Chapter 11. A Threat from the Bay Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 11. A Threat from the Bay Family. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Sun Hongmei began to worry that Bai Qingqing had said something to Qin Jiaji. The matter of the substitute marriage was not honorable, to begin with. Moreover, if Qin Jiaji were to get angry over this matter, no one would be able to bear the responsibility. Qingqing, you're leaving so soon. This child is really something. Every time she comes back, she won't stay for long. She hasn't even had the chance to taste mother's cooking. Sun Hongmei's face was full of smiles. Yes, Sister Qingqing. Why don't you stay a little longer and eat before you leave? Bei said with a flattering smile. Bai Qingqing frowned. These two people looked like biological mother and daughter with their clumsy acting skills. Instead, she seemed to be out of place here. No, it's better for the three of you to eat. Bai Qingqing did not show any mercy and said coldly. He. This child. Sun Hongmei could not do anything to her, so she could only laugh dryly to cover it up. Taking advantage of the moment when the special assistant's back was facing her, she glared at Bai Qingqing fiercely, her eyes full of warning. Then, Sister Qingqing, don't forget what mother told you. Bei emphasized. She looked at the treatment that Bai Qingqing was enjoying and was almost driven mad. All of this was clearly hers. How could she be willing to let this woman have it? Then let's go, First Lady. The special assistant respectfully opened the car door for Bai Qingqing. Even the special assistant felt that this hypocritical scene was extremely laughable. He did not dare to imagine what kind of treatment Bai Qingqing was receiving in this family. When they returned to the Qin family, Qin Jiaji saw Bai Qingqing's wrinkled face. The special assistant had already informed him on the phone about what had happened in the Bai family. Qin Jiaji was very clear about the Bai family's ambitions. He was not the kind that pursued matters outside his family, but this was for the sake of Bai Qingqing. If the Bai family crossed the line one more step, then he would make them regret it for the rest of their lives. I'm back. Seeing Bai Qingqing's powerless and dejected appearance, Qin Jiaji's also felt bad. Help me get a glass of water. Qin Jiaji deliberately ordered her to get up. Bai Qingqing poured the water in a daze and handed it to him. No, it's too hot. Qin Jiaji pretended to frown. Bai Qingqing slowly came back to her senses and poured another glass for him. No, it's too cold. Seeing that Bai Qingqing was slowly becoming energetic, he continued to order her around. Bai Qingqing tested the temperature of the water. It was obviously warm, but she still did not say anything. On the way to pour the water, she kept thinking about the threatening words of the Bai family. What if the Bai family really went to the foster mother's hospital to cause a ruckus? To her, the favor of her foster mother was something she would never be able to repay in her lifetime. Did she really have to leave Qin Jiaji? Just as she was in a daze, Qin Jiaji's urging voice sounded again. Why are you taking so long to pour water? Bai Qingqing came back to her senses and looked at the temperature of the water. It was 43 degrees Celsius. There should be no problem now, right? Unexpectedly, Qin Jiaji only took a sip and said critically, the temperature is still not right. Bai Qingqing was already upset. Seeing that Qin Jiaji was deliberately made things difficult for her, the grievances in her heart could not be suppressed, and her eyes instantly turned red. Qin Jiaji was shocked by her sudden emotions. Looking at the tears that were about to fall from her red eyes, Qin Jiaji felt as if his heart had been struck. He turned his head and said after a pause, tomorrow night, I will hold a banquet to invite the Bai family. There are some things that need to be explained clearly. Bai Qingqing was instantly stunned, and a sense of panic rose in her heart. He said that he wanted to explain things clearly to the Bai family. Did he want to send her back? Chapter 12. This is also your home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 12. This is also your home translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Looking at Bei Qingqing's flustered and pitiful look, he felt that something deep in his heart was disintegrating. All these years, he had never felt that there was a woman who was as beautiful as Bei Qingqing. What did I do wrong? Why are you always looking for trouble with me today? She lowered her head and asked weakly. Chen Jiaji cursed his subordinates in his heart. He had never been in a relationship before, so how would he know how to make girls happy? It was the same lousy method he had heard from his subordinates. His methods did not work at all. It even made the already sad Bei Qingqing even sadder. Ahem, I didn't mean that. He did not know how to explain his actions just now. He could only change the topic to business. Chen Jiaji pursed his lips, looked up, and said slowly, Special Assistant Yao has told me everything that happened in the Bei family today. Bei Qingqing looked up. Her slightly startled gaze met that pair of bottomless black eyes, and she immediately lowered his head. So he knew everything. I don't care what the Bei family is doing, but I want to know what you think. Bei Qingqing was stunned. For some reason, she felt that he was exceptionally gentle today. Do you want to go back to the Bei family? He shook his head and said seriously, someone once said that the one who misses you is the one you belong to. She paused, her voice choked with sobs. So that's not my home. They've always been a family of 3. To the Bei family, I'm just a worthless person, to be used for their benefit. The place where my foster mother is my home. That's the only place that can be called home. It would be a lie to say that she was not sad. After all, the Bei family was her biological family. The feeling of being abandoned by her biological parents was as bitter and bone-piercing as the cold snow in the winter. Chen Jiaji looked at the sorrow on her face, and he felt like his heart was being pricked by a needle. He said gently, from the moment you married into the Chen family, this place is your home as well. It will continue to be your shelter in the future. Ever since she was young, no one had ever said such touching words to her except for her foster mother. Bei Qingqing felt the warmth in his eyes. A trace of warmth slowly rose in her heart, and she nodded obediently. Chen Jiaji curled the corners of his lips in satisfaction. Why was this woman so cute? Chen Jiaji lazily straightened his body. I need to go to the bathroom. She was stunned for a moment. It was still too early for her to be moved. What are you waiting for? Come and help me up. Are you going to let a sick person like me go alone? He pretended to be pitiful as he placed his hand on Bei Qingqing's shoulder. Bei Qingqing quickly got up and used her shoulder to support his weight. Due to the difference in size, it was as if Bei Qingqing was leaning into his chest. Bei Qingqing's face turned red at the thought of this. Ever since she was young, she had never had such intimate contact with a man. Although this person was her husband, they had only been together for a short period of time after all. Chen Jiaji looked at the shy Bei Qingqing, and a layer of red appeared on his originally fair and attractive face. He could not help but stretch out his hand to pinch her. Why are you pinching me? Bei Qingqing's face turned even redder, like a big tomato. What's wrong? You're my wife now. Isn't it normal to pinch you? Chen Jiaji admired her embarrassed and angry look. The more she acted like this, the happier he felt. Chapter 13. Sharing the same bed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 13. Sharing the same bed. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Bei Qingqing helped him to the washroom with a trembling hand. Then, she turned to leave. That faint voice sounded behind her ear, why are you in such a hurry? After I go to the washroom, you still have to help me out. Bei Qingqing felt her face burn terribly. She actually had to accompany him on such a private matter. Although it was just a few short seconds, she felt as if time was passing by very slowly. Finally, after a series of splashing sounds, she heard the sound of a man's belt colliding. All right, help me back to lie down. Maintaining her strong posture, Bei Qingqing helped him to the side of the bed. When she looked at the time, it was indeed time to rest. However, the problem that made her scalp tingle still came. There was only one bed in the room. Although they were now husband and wife in name, Bei Qingqing still could not accept the fact that they were sleeping together. Moreover, if they were to do that thing, she felt her heart beat faster. It felt as if her heart was going to crash. Chen Jiaji obviously did not notice her embarrassed look. He lay on the bed and waved his hand. Why are you standing there in a daze again? Come up, Eddie. Bei Qingqing shook her head like a rattle-drum. Her hand was placed in front of her chest, and she looked like she was about to die. Chen Jiaji snickered. Don't worry, I'm not interested in a flat body like yours. You're my wife now. If we don't sleep on the same bed, others will think that you aren't valued in the Chen family. Wouldn't that ruin the Chen family's reputation? Hearing his words, Bei Qingqing slowly put down her hands. On second thought, it made sense. Chen Jiaji had seen all kinds of women. Although she did not think that her figure was flat, she did not think that there was anything that attracted Chen Jiaji. With this comfort, she relaxed and lay on the other side of the bed. Everything that had happened today was too tiring for her. She felt the soft blanket and the fresh scent of wood and fell asleep very quickly. Chen Jiaji wanted to say something more, but when he turned around, he saw Bei Qingqing's sleeping face. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile. He could not bear to touch her again. In the morning, a ray of sunlight leaked in from the window and shone on the white blanket. Bei Qingqing rubbed her eyes lazily, but she felt as if something soft was pressed on the back of her head. The man's even breathing was scattered behind her ears. She turned her head slightly, and that handsome face was inches away from her. She blushed and she wanted to run away. She did not expect to feel a hard object pressing against her body. Bei Qingqing's face instantly turned red. Although she had been single for many years and had never had sex before, she knew all about it. She closed her eyes tightly, begging the man not to wake up at this time. Otherwise, it would be too awkward. However, the next second, a knock on the door broke her fantasy. Young master, Dr. Liang and Miss Lu are here. Butler Zhang knocked on the door politely and reminded him from outside. I got it. Tell them to wait, Chen Jiaji said in a lazy voice. He had just woken up. As a man, Chen Jiaji was already used to waking up to morning wood. However, looking at the woman in his arms, he was so shy that his ears were red. He could not help but approach her and joke, do you want to meet my brother? The ambiguous atmosphere startled her and she immediately crawled out from under the blanket. Chen Jiaji's plot succeeded. He smiled very proudly, I want to go to the toilet. Help me up. Bei Qingqing braced herself and helped him up like last night. The difference was that this morning, his private part was standing upright. She turned her head, afraid to look at him. Chapter 14. Chen Jiaji's childhood sweetheart. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 14. Chen Jiaji's childhood sweetheart. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. She accompanied Chen Jiaji to the bathroom and helped him wash up briefly. Butler Zhang then brought the guests in. Two people slowly entered the door. Dr. Liang walked in front, his face full of concern. Behind him was a woman with bright dot-colored clothes. Her dress displayed her perfect body. Her every move was filled with extraordinary temperament and grace. Bei Qingqing had seen this woman long before he married into the Chen family. She was often on television. The woman was the popular pianist, Lu Yao. At such a young age, she had won numerous awards both in China and abroad. She was also known as the most beautiful face in the piano industry. Moreover, she was also Chen Jiaji's childhood sweetheart. Bei Qingqing could not help but lower her head. She looked at herself and sighed. It was really infuriating to compare with other people. How have you been these few days? Dr. Liang asked. I'm much better. Your body is still a little weak. You should pay attention to your health and get more rest. Don't focus on work these days. Dr. Liang glanced at the file in the distance as he spoke. I'll prescribe some medicine for you when we go back. You'll recover faster. Well, thank you for your concern, Dr. Liang, Chen Jiaji said faintly. After Dr. Liang finished his diagnosis, Lu Yao sat on the seat closest to Chen Jiaji anxiously. Brother Jiaji, it's so good to see that you're okay. You have no idea how worried I've been for you all these years. Her voice was soft and delicate, and there seemed to be some tears in her eyes. Why are you here? Chen Jiaji frowned. I heard that you're awake. This time, Lu Yao specifically cancelled the piano show for the global tour. You have to cherish this kindness, Dr. Liang said on Lu Yao's behalf. Those things are nothing compared to Brother Jiaji, Lu Yao said shyly. Bei Qingqing was shocked. A piano show on a global tour. She actually pushed such a grand event for Chen Jiaji. It was really touching. After growing up, she became a big star and he became a domineering CEO. Both of them were extremely impressive. Bei Qingqing wanted to bow down to this couple in respect. She should not be Chen Jiaji's wife. Miss Lu Yao should be the rightful wife. This was what a perfect couple should be. They were of equal status. What are you looking at? Go get me a glass of water. Chen Jiaji only needed to raise his eyes to feel Bei Qingqing's gossipy gaze. As his wife, when he saw she was infatuated with the other woman, inexplicable anger rose from the bottom of his heart. Bei Qingqing was stunned for a moment before she reacted. She quickly agreed and prepared to get up. Brother Jiaji, it's better if I go. Lu Yao pretended to get up as well. How could she give such an opportunity to show off her gentleness and virtue to another woman? I don't want to drink it if it's not from her, he said faintly. Chen Jiaji's words stunned the two women at the same time. Lu Yao glared at Bei Qingqing with dissatisfaction. Bei Qingqing felt her hostility and wanted to cry. Chen Jiaji obviously did not want the woman he loved to work hard, so he sent her instead. Moreover, it made Lu Yao roll her eyes at her. Bei Qingqing responded in a bad mood and turned around, preparing to escape from this troublesome place. However, she was stopped by Lu Yao. Hello, can you get me a cup of coffee too? There was no politeness in Lu Yao's tone, as if Bei Qingqing was her own servant. Bei Qingqing stood rooted to the ground inside. Chapter 15. She felt that she was redundant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 15. She felt that she was redundant. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Although Bei Qingqing's voice was very soft, Lu Yao still noticed it. Her heart was immediately filled with anger. She was just a maid by Chen Jiaji's side. It should be an honor for her to make coffee for someone like Lu Yao. After all, a woman like her who wore rustic clothes and had no identity would never have the chance to get in touch with her. Moreover, when she married Chen Jiaji in the future, she would be the young madam of the Chen family. They would have to listen to her in all matters of the family. Thinking of this, Lu Yao's face lit up with joy. Bei Qingqing looked at the young miss, who was angry at one moment and happy at the other. It was really hard to understand. Although she did not want to be ordered around by Lu Yao as a maid, this person in front of her was Chen Jiaji's childhood sweetheart, and she was also a famous piano star. She waited on both of them. Miss Lu, what kind of coffee would you like? Bei Qingqing tried her best to sound as gentle as possible to show that she was not hostile to her. Panama Red Label Aquamarine, light roast. Lu Yao looked at Bei Qingqing arrogantly, then she turned her head and continued to act coquettishly to Chen Jiaji. Brother Jiaji, I haven't drunk your Panama Red Label Aquamarine for a long time. I remember when we were young, Auntie often made it for us to drink. I miss it so much. Also, I remember that you liked to bully me at that time, but Auntie said that it was your way of expressing your feelings, so I didn't dare to come over and play with you for a few days. Lu Yao went on, but Qin Jiaji was not listening at all. He watched as Bei Qingqing stood at the door in a daze, looking like a silly little kitten waiting for its owner to stroke its fur. Bei Qingqing naturally did not notice his gaze. Her mind was still filled with what Lu Yao had said. Panama Red Label Aquamarine. She did not drink coffee often. As far as she knew, there were espresso, americano, macchiato, and latte. However, she had never heard of Panama Red Label Aquamarine. Also, what was light roast? BVEC, could it be that he put the coffee in the oven and baked it? Rich people have really strange tastes. Bei Qingqing wanted to ask about it, but Lu Yao seemed to be engrossed in talking about how she was chased by a dog together with Qin Jiaji when they were young. Bei Qingqing could only stare blankly onto the floor and blink her eyes. Seeing Bei Qingqing's silly and confused look, Qin Jiaji covered his mouth and could not help but burst into laughter. Lu Yao's heart instantly bloomed with joy. The ice-cold Qin Jiaji actually smiled at her. Sure enough, it was the right move to use their childhood memories to awaken the feelings in this man's heart. Bei Qingqing was also pulled back to reality by Qin Jiaji's laughter. She thought to herself, sure enough, the two of them were a match made in heaven. Qin Jiaji had never been so happy when he was with her. Bei Qingqing felt that she was a bit redundant in this room. She felt like a huge light bulb. In order to make room for the golden couple, Bei Qingqing tactfully turned the doorknob and planned to go out to hide. It was probably better to ask the servants what was Panama Red Label Aquamarine and light roast. Bei Qingqing, don't go yet. Seeing Bei Qingqing about to leave the room made him feel a little uncomfortable. He did not know why, but if she was not by his side, he felt a little depressed. Chapter 16. An ambiguous posture. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 16. An ambiguous posture. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Bei Qingqing turned her head unwillingly and shot Qin Jiaji a look as if she wanted to say, "What now?" Qin Jiaji raised his eyes and curled his lips. "Why are you so fierce? My back hurts a little. Help me adjust the position of the pillow." His face was full of joy, and Bei Qingqing did not believe that he was in pain at all. Bei Qingqing stared at him suspiciously, but she still let go of the door handle and turned back. Qin Jiaji was in a half-lying position, so Bei Qingqing had to lower her body to adjust the pillow on his back. However, when she bent over, their positions became even more intimate. From a distance, they looked like a couple whispering in each other's ears. Bei Qingqing did not realize it at all, but this made Lu Yao very unhappy. She was just a maid, but she was so close to her Jiaji. She wanted to rush up and shake Bei Qingqing off so that she could be the one in her place. "Stop moving." She could have easily moved the pillow, but Qin Jiaji did not cooperate at all. Lu Yao was stunned. What kind of tone did this maid have? Did she not know who Qin Jiaji was? How could she be so blunt and order him around? Lu Yao thought that Bei Qingqing would definitely be scolded and kicked out of the house. She was just about to watch the show. However, Qin Jiaji was not angry at all. He was actually obedient and really stopped moving. Lu Yao thought to herself, could it be that he was sick and his brain was damaged? Bei Qingqing took advantage of the time when he was not moving to gently support his shoulder and moved the pillow on his back. Within a short distance, Qin Jiaji sniffed her hair. It was a very pleasant fragrance. There was no intentional perfume embellishment. Instead, there was a unique scent. How is it? Is it done? If it was done, she would still have to prepare that damnable Panama Red Label Aquamarine and lightly roast it. Qin Jiaji nodded in satisfaction, then paused again. "There's no problem here, but I feel a little uncomfortable on the right. Bei Qingqing looked at him suspiciously. She felt that he was deliberately ordering her around. However, she had no evidence. Aren't you able to adjust that to that position yourself? Chen Jiaji acted shamelessly and spread his hands. I'm a patient, aren't you willing to help me? Looking at that innocent face, Bei Qingqing held her forehead in pain. She must have committed some crime in her past life to be in this position now. Bei Qingqing stretched her hand out to his right side with great effort, but she did not feel anything strange. Could it be that she needed to move a little further? She used all her strength to move a little further to the right side, and half of her body was almost pressing on Chen Jiaji's body. What's wrong? I don't feel anything here. Bei Qingqing asked doubtfully. Chen Jiaji was enjoying her scent, with her up close. When he saw that Bei Qingqing was already suspicious, he immediately changed his words. Is that so? Then maybe it's my mistake. Bei Qingqing was stunned for a moment. When Chen Jiaji said that his back was uncomfortable and his right side was uncomfortable, it was all a joke. It was as if he was enjoying the pleasure of torturing her. Did you do it on purpose? Bei Qingqing's small face puffed up, and her eyes were wide open. Chen Jiaji looked at her cute appearance. He really wanted to pinch her cheeks. However, he shook his head seriously. No, I was indeed uncomfortable just now. Then I'll trust you for the time being. Bei Qingqing could not refute him, so she gave up. Lu Yao's expression almost went out of control. Her heart was in turmoil, filled with jealousy. However, what happened next shocked her to her core. Chapter 17. Holding Hands. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 17. Holding Hands. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Since you're fine now, I won't disturb you guys. Bei Qingqing had already felt the death stare from Miss Lu. If she did not act tactfully and leave now, she was afraid that Miss Lu would not be able to hold herself back. However, just as she was about to retreat, a soft and broad hand grabbed her. Bei Qingqing was stunned for a moment and turned around in disbelief. Chen Jiaji's bewitching face was smiling at her as if he was holding a puppy. However, Lu Yao almost cried out when she saw this scene. Chen Jiaji actually took the initiative to hold the maid's hand. How was this possible? Chen Jiaji was known for his cold attitude. Even though he used to be surrounded by beautiful women, he had never taken a glance at them, let alone taking the initiative to hold someone else's hand. What was the relationship between the two of them? Lu Yao clenched her fingers tightly, her heart was about to burst with jealousy. She automatically thought that Bei Qingqing must have taken the initiative to seduce Chen Jiaji. This Beijing wanted to occupy her position as the Chen family's madam, so she must have used some kind of despicable method. Bei Qingqing came back to her senses, and her face blushed slightly. Chen Jiaji was actually doing such a thing in front of so many people. She did not understand how his brain worked. She tried to gently pull her hand away, but Chen Jiaji's strength was too great, and she could not withdraw her hand at all. His bony fingers sometimes rubbed the back of her hand, and sometimes gently rubbed her palm, showing no intention of letting go. What are you doing? Let go of me quickly. Bei Qingqing urged Chen Jiaji in a low voice with a red face. After all, she had already seen Lu Yao's fire breathing eyes. If this continued, Lu Yao might misunderstand even further and there would be too much trouble in the future. Why should I let go? Chen Jiaji curled his lips, turned his body, and said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, beg me to let go of you. Bei Qingqing pursed her lips and snorted unwillingly. No matter how stupid she was, she knew that begging him would only make him more excited. Brother Jiaji, it's not good for you to be like this. I think this sister doesn't look very happy either. Lu Yao's face was almost green, but she still forced a smile and pretended to be considerate. Oh. Really? Chen Jiaji opened his thin lips slightly, and there was a hint of laziness in his cold voice. He raised his eyes and looked meaningfully at her little hand that was already a little red from the rubbing. Then, he twisted his grip and interlocked his fingers with hers. This time, Lu Yao's heart sank, and she could not wait to jump up and push away the tightly interlocked hands. Chen Jiaji curled his lips. When he raised his head, he saw Bei Qingqing's face that was as shocked as a rabbit. It was like a fragile treasure. It was delicate and pitiful, but also very tempting. He made up his mind and said softly, "Get Ah Xiang to make coffee for you. Bei Qingqing won't make it for you." Throughout the entire conversation, Chen Jiaji's gaze had been fixed on Bei Qingqing. He could not even bear to turn his eyes away. Lu Yao was stunned. She knew that Chen Jiaji was talking to her just now. She could not help but look at Bei Qingqing a few more times. This woman was dressed plainly, and there was nothing spectacular with facial features. What exactly attracted Chen Jiaji? However, Chen Jiaji had already spoken. If she still wanted to order Bei Qingqing around, she would be asking for trouble. No matter how unwilling she was, she could only endure it. "Ah Xiang, pour me a latte." Bei Qingqing frowned. She could now see that Lu Yao was deliberately making things difficult for her. Otherwise, why would she suddenly change her choice from Panama Red Label Aquamarine to latte? Chapter 18. He must despise me for being stupid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 18. He must despise me for being stupid. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Moreover, Chen Jiaji had suddenly called Ah Xiang over just now. It was clear that he despised her for being stupid and did not even know what coffee was. She mustered up her courage and wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. So, she tried to pull her hand again, but Chen Jiaji would not give her the chance to escape. Not only did she not manage to break free from his grip, but she was grabbed even tighter. Seeing how intimate the two of them were, Lu Yao turned her head away in anger. She was the one who had fallen in love with Chen Jiaji first. How could such a lowly maid have the right to be held by Chen Jiaji's hand? No one else could match up to such an outstanding man like Chen Jiaji except herself. This bitch was just Chen Jiaji's plaything. Did she really think that Chen Jiaji would marry her? The only person that could be the madam of the Chen family was her, Lu Yao. Who did she think she was to actually flirt with Chen Jiaji in front of her? The more Lu Yao thought about it, the angrier she got. However, she could not flare up because Chen Jiaji was still here. If Chen Jiaji was not here, she would definitely teach this woman a lesson. She would let her know what kind of person was worthy of such a man. Bei Qingqing felt a chill behind her. She quietly turned her head and met Lu Yao's gaze, which was filled with hatred. She secretly cursed in her heart. This time, Lu Yao would definitely treat her as a thorn in her flesh. Well, I'll go help Ah Xiang. It's a good opportunity to familiarize myself with the environment. Bei Qingqing forced a fake smile. Chen Jiaji curled his lips. This excuse was not bad. Thus, he reluctantly let go of her soft and fragrant hand. After being freed, Bei Qingqing quickly escaped from this battlefield. Chen Jiaji looked at the departing figure and then at his own hand. Her scent was still lingering. He could not help but smile. When Lu Yao saw his actions, she could not hold it in anymore. She tried her best to suppress her emotions and tried her best to keep her voice calm. "Brother Jiaji, who is she?" Chen Jiaji immediately retracted his smile and said coldly, "What does it have to do with you?" Lu Yao was stunned and her heart was bleeding. However, she still put on a smiling face. "Brother Jiaji, don't misunderstand. I don't mean anything by it. I'm just afraid that she won't be able to take good care of you since she's a little clumsy." Chen Jiaji's face darkened, and his voice was extremely imposing. "When did you see her being clumsy? Are you suddenly in charge of disciplining the people in my Chen family now?" Lu Yao was shocked and explained in panic, I didn't mean that. He actually scolded her for that woman. Lu Yao was jealous, but she did not dare to show it. Chen Jiaji saw through her thoughts at a glance, and his voice was indifferent, for the sake of you and me having known each other for so many years, I won't argue with you this time. Don't meddle in things that you shouldn't. If you do it again, I can't guarantee that you'll walk out of the Chen family unscathed. After saying this, Chen Jiaji rudely invited her to leave. Lu Yao held back her tears, feeling ashamed and resentful. Since he cared so much about that slut, then she would have to personally deal with this little slut. How dare she seduce Chen Jiaji? Then, Sister Ah Xiang, I'll be leaving first. Bei Qingqing finally figured out what was the coffee that Lu Yao wanted. She was delighted and was going to serve the coffee to the guest. Bei Qingqing walked back while humming a song softly. Stop! The cold shout startled Bei Qingqing. When she came back to her senses, she saw Lu Yao looking at her with a gloomy face. Chapter 19. It was a show for Chen Jiaji. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 19. It was a show for Chen Jiaji. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Bei Qingqing was stunned. She was not stupid. Seeing the look on Lu Yao's ashen face, she was not here to have a friendly chat. However, it was impossible for her to just ignore Lu Yao, right? Thinking of this, Bei Qingqing braced himself and walked over. Lu Yao raised her head and looked at the woman in front of her arrogantly. Her tone was very unfriendly. Do you know why I called you over? Bei Qingqing's scalp went numb. What else could it be? It was all Chen Jiaji's fault for being so reckless in front of Lu Yao. This woman was like a jealous spirit. No one could withstand her jealousy. Bei Qingqing pretended to be confused and shook her head. Lu Yao sneered. You and brother Jiaji seem to be very intimate just now. Bei Qingqing said lightly, how could that be? I was just helping him adjust his back. You saw it too. He asked me to adjust it. Otherwise, why would I want to get close to him? Lu Yao gritted her teeth and glared at Bei Qingqing. I'm warning you. You're just a maid by brother Jiaji's side. Don't think about flying to the top and becoming a phoenix. When you have time, go look in the mirror and see if you're worthy of him. I'm not thinking of climbing up to the top. Bei Qingqing was not angry. What Lu Yao said was not wrong. She was indeed like a maid by Chen Jiaji's side. Humph, I hope so. Don't step over the line. Lu Yao warned, I'm telling you, I'm the only one that can be the future first lady of the Chen family. Ah, right. Bei Qingqing did not want to continue this argument with her. Besides, she did not intend to fight with anyone, and marrying Chen Jiaji was not her intention, to begin with. She really wanted to tell Lu Yao right now that she and Chen Jiaji were only in a fake marriage and it would not threaten her position. However, she could not say it out loud. You. What kind of attitude do you have? Lu Yao's anger flared up as soon as she heard Bei Qingqing's perfunctory tone of voice. Bei Qingqing was also a little impatient, and she directly retorted, I've already said it many times, Miss Lu. I'm not thinking of climbing over your head, nor do I have any intention of stepping over the line. Don't you understand, Miss Lu? Lu Yao stomped her feet in anger. No one had dared to speak to her like that. Even in the Lu family, the entire family had to give in to her. Now, this insensible maid actually dared to speak to her like that. Just because she had Chen Jiaji's favor. You don't know what's good for you. Lu Yao was so embarrassed that she flew into a rage. She raised her hand as if she was about to slap Bei Qingqing. Fortunately, Bei Qingqing was quick-witted and quickly grabbed Lu Yao's hand. Then, she raised her other hand and swung it at Lu Yao's face. Pa! A crisp sound rang in the corridor. Lu Yao's eyes widened. Before she could retaliate, she saw a familiar figure in the distance from the corner of her eye. The corner of her mouth curled up into a smile, and then she used the momentum to fall to the ground. BDNV Aya. Lu Yao cried out loud, and she felt secretly proud of herself. If Qin Jiaji saw her being beaten, he would definitely feel sorry for her. Maybe she could even take the opportunity to get rid of this troublesome maid. Bei Qingqing looked at Lu Yao, who was lying on the ground, and then looked at her own hand. It could not be that bad, right? Although the slap just now was mixed with some anger and a little bit of strength, it should not be so bad as to send her falling to the ground. A second later, she had the answer to her question. Qin Jiaji appeared from the corner, pushing himself on the wheelchair. His face was cold as if he had seen everything. Bei Qingqing held her forehead with a wry smile. It turned out that Lu Yao was putting on a show for Qin Jiaji. Chapter 20. Does your hand hurt? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 20. Does your hand hurt? Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. No, it's not what it looks like. Bei Qingqing's voice could not help but tremble. Looking at the man's cold eyes, her heart sank. Lu Yao lowered her head and squeezed out a few drops of tears. Then, she looked up at Qin Jiaji with a tender gaze. Brother Jiaji. Sob, sob, sob. Lu Yao waited for Qin Jiaji to help her up, but Qin Jiaji did not react at all. Brother Jiaji, don't blame her. I believe she didn't mean to hit me. I know that people around you will get jealous of me, and I can't avoid that. But it's okay. For you, it's all worth it. The corner of Bei Qingqing's mouth twitched. What a great actress. With such good acting skills, it would be a waste of talent if Lu Yao did not audition for a role in the film industry. Qin Jiaji only glanced at Lu Yao, who was on the ground indifferently, then beckoned Bei Qingqing with his hand. Come here. Bei Qingqing's heartbeat started to quicken. She wanted to explain herself, but as she looked at the scene in front of her and the tearful woman on the ground, she decided to keep her mouth shut. Brother Jiaji, you don't have to blame her too much. I think she must have realized her mistake now. You don't have to go through so much trouble for me. Just give her a little bit of punishment. That will do. Lu Yao looked at Qin Jiaji's cold face and fanned the flames. As Bei Qingqing walked toward Qin Jiaji, her footsteps were as heavy as lead. Thinking back to the scene just now, she should have endured it, and she should not have acted rashly. From Qin Jiaji's point of view, he must have thought that she was the one that pushed Lu Yao to the ground. That she felt uneasy and her footsteps were heavy. Stretch out your hand. His voice was like a ghost in the middle of the night, mysterious and unpredictable. There was not a hint of emotion in it. Lu Yao looked at Bei Qingqing proudly. She knew that Qin Jiaji was on her side, and Bei Qingqing was just a maid. Humph. Bei Qingqing's face was pale. Qin Jiaji would not chop off her hand, right? She had heard that Qin Jiaji was extremely ruthless. She could not help but worry about her situation. She hesitated and withdrew her hand, afraid that it would be gone in the next second. Hurry up. What are you waiting for? Qin Jiaji raised his head and looked at Bei Qingqing's nervous little face. He found it funny. He was not a man-eating monster. Why was there fear written all over her face? Qin Jiaji reflected on himself. Could it be that he had been too fierce to her recently? Or had he made things too difficult for her? He secretly decided that he must be gentler to her in the future so that this easily frightened little white rabbit could be at ease. He wanted her to act coquettishly towards him. Although Bei Qingqing was somewhat unwilling, she had no choice but to stretch out her hand nervously. However, unlike the storm that she had imagined, Qin Jiaji did not chop off her little hand. Qin Jiaji looked at her slightly red palm and started to gently rub her palm. He raised his head, looked at her surprised expression, and asked, does your hand hurt? Bei Qingqing shook her head in a daze, not knowing how to react. He did not blame me. Moreover, he was still concerned about me. Could he be dreaming? Lu Yao, who was on the ground, almost dropped her jaw in shock. She looked at Qin Jiaji's gentle face in disbelief, wondering if there was something wrong with her ears. Next time, if you want to hit someone, you can call me or Special Assistant Yao. We will help you. Why do you have to do it yourself? Look at you, your palm is red now. As he spoke, he did not forget to gently blow on the palm. As Qin Jiaji looked at Bei Qingqing's flushed face, his heart stirred. Brother Jiaji. Qin Jiaji did not want to pay any attention to the woman who was wailing from the ground.